Some viewers may find this content disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. The Wendigo guy, Ryan Tremblay. Yes, this must mean it is time for you and I to go on another Dogman expedition here on Midnight Lycanthropy. Yet please allow me to feed. Much better. It did get a little messy, but I did have to recharge myself. I would like to thank everyone who has been tuning in to LordeStarfox Radio. Without you, my content is nothing. Without further ado, it is time for the Wendigo guy and myself to take a walk into the darkness. My creatures of the night, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. Again, we have the official cryptozoologist of the North American Dogman Project. Yes, if I cannot answer something or nor can I figure it out, I go to the Wendigo guy, aka Ryan Tremblay, who again has taken some of his valuable time to come hang out with us. How are you doing tonight, Ryan?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
Not too bad, my friend. Just been plugging away and, doing the same as you, just trying to get caught up on research. And actually, I don't even like to use the word caught up or backed up because I almost feel like that's like a negative vibe. It's a gift to have all this stuff to be able to create and collaborate. So I'm
Yeah,
just stocked up. There we go.
there you go. Yeah, I've been busy writing my Wendigo book, man. I am convinced anybody who writes more than one book per month is insane.
I could only imagine, my friend, because I've been working on the book that you and I have spoken about for months now. And I mean, just to put out a 30 to 35-minute video takes, if I really crunch my time, I can get that out in one night if I wanted to drive myself batty. But I enjoy creating my content too. So I would say
Mhm.
about every day and a half, 2 days max, I can push out a video. But I
Okay.
understand, like, I mean, even when you're editing it and it's unfolding the way you'd like, you get to a point of where it's monotonous and you just
Yes.
cannot do it anymore. So I
Mhm.
understand.
Well, with me, man, it's like I'm writing this book, and as I'm writing certain chapters, I'm getting more information that belong in other chapters. It's going along at pace. I actually got some really good information for the Wendigo, so that's going to be an awesome book, dude.
That's excellent. Congratulations. It's super funny because one of the girls that's part of the North American Dogman Project, and that's also a super big fan of what I do. So she's always popping around. One of the things when you and I were talking, she was like, the Wendigo, that's a whole nother level. Who the heck wants to mess with that? So just found it to be pretty amusing.
Well, you know what? That's just it, though. That's the reason right there, brothers. Because like nobody really looks into the Wendigo the way they should. I mean, you always hear people comparing it to Bigfoot. You compare it to Dogman or even werewolves. And I thought somebody needs to do the actual work to show people what it really is.
Yes. And we
Because I think we're
can.
doing an injustice.
1000%. It's like with some of the people looking at, say, the cynocephaly as Dogman and etc. No, you're 100%. I mean, I am a firm believer too that a lot of reports have been kind of clumped together, one or another, meaning maybe a Gugway, or I don't know the exact type of version of Sasquatch that would look more baboonish, also falls into the category of what you and I have spoken about, which could also be the baboon version Dogman. So there's a lot of instances where things are kind of clumped together, and we'll have to talk about it more in the future, but I even think potentially maybe Boggy Creek might have actually been some Dogman activity more than Sasquatch. But again, that's something in the future we can kind of dive into.
Oh yeah, definitely. That sounds intriguing to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. So you have some really great stuff for us tonight. And to my audience, if you have not heard Ryan's encounter before, I have previously documented it. But if you are here in the now, well, here it comes. We're going to dive into, well, I would like to say it's cool, but it's cool to me because these things don't occur to me and I'm just documenting them. But to the individuals that it occurs to, it is not cool. But he is going to tell us a little bit about what unfolded with himself and also how he, as well as myself and other members within the North American Dogman Project, do believe that cave hyenas and even maybe potential spotted hyenas are very much prevalent within the United States and
Yes,
potentially
sir.
globally.
Yes, definitely. So with my Dogman encounter, it happened because I volunteered to house sit for my friend while he and his wife went on vacation, and no good deed goes unpunished, I guess. But I would do I had a routine checkup thing that I would do. I'd go in the morning, I'd go in the afternoon, I'd go in the evening, then my last visit would be about midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, just to make sure nobody was messing about on his property. So on this certain night, I went about, maybe 12:30, and I'm walking up to his house because he's got a long driveway. And I noticed that the coyotes all around me sound really nervous. And if you've been out in the desert, you've been near coyotes, you know what they sound like when they're hunting, when they're playing. But these things sounded straight up nervous, like they sounded scared. And I didn't really pay much mind to it. It's just one of those things that you kind of get used to hearing in Arizona. So as I'm walking towards his backyard, because he has a side gate that you got to go in to get into his backyard. As I'm going back there, I kind of got this smell. It was this really putrid odor, Kenny. I mean, it was disgusting. It smelled like rotted meat, feces, body odor, and urine all pretty much rolled into one nasty little ball. Okay.
Yeah, like a predator. Yeah, predators.
Yeah.
I mean, they stink, dude. Like, unfortunately, I heard a case about a crocodile that was a man eater, and the tribal individuals that stalked it down said they came to an area where it just smelled so bad. And when they kept coming up, it was actually the crocodile's mouth open that was stinking up the whole area. So, yes.
It got to the point where it was kind of burning my nose and burning my eyes, making my eyes water because it smelled so pungent. But as I'm walking back there, I kind of saw something in the shadow. You know how when you're looking at dark shadows, you can see something that's of substance moving within a shadow? Okay. So I saw that, and I thought maybe it was a homeless dude or whatever because he lived next to a riverbed. And in our town, the homeless guys would come up from the riverbed and try to kind of sneak into your property, get, pillows or whatever.
Logical explanation. Yeah, for sure.
So when I saw that, I kind of just, puffed up a little bit because I'm only 5'10" and a half, Kenny. I'm not a tall dude. So I puffed up like that puffer
Only
fish.
he says.
I puffed up like a puffer fish, and I'm all, hey, trying to scare away whatever is there. So first time I do that, there's no response. So as I'm walking forward a little bit more, I still see this movement. So again, I puff up trying to scare away whatever is there, and I'm all, hey. This time there was a response. I get this really, really deep growl. And when I say deep, Kenny, I mean my bones were like vibrating. I could feel it in my lungs. I could feel it in my head. So, that right there, that deep, deep growl, it did not sound like a normal dog. All right. I thought maybe bear or maybe mountain lion. And I kind of thought, oh, I'm screwed if it's either or. But in the town that we lived in, we don't get bears. Okay. We do get mountain lions, but they were very rare. So I'm still proceeding forward. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. His security lights kick on. And well, what's looking back at me, Kenny, it's a hyena. Okay, I mean, only way I can describe this face accurately is to tell you, look at a hyena's face, okay? That's what I saw. A hyena's face staring back at me. Only difference was this hyena can I get up on two legs? And I heard that loud pop when it stood up. So was it really a dogman? What was it? I mean, I don't even like to call it a dogman, really. I mean, hyenas aren't canines, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So can I call what I saw a dogman logically? Well, yes and no, I guess. I mean,
It's just
you know,
whoever. I think it was Linda Godfrey that first dubbed that, and it's funny you said that because Jody informed me the other night that she actually wished that she didn't. She called it more of a man dog instead of dog man. But yeah, continue.
logically though, Kenny, what do I call that? Okay. I couldn't make sense of it. I've been told it was a dogman. I've been told it was a were hyena. But if you've ever done any research into were hyenas, they're way over in Africa. So what? Did this one swim over from Africa and just post up in my friend's backyard and go, haha, made you look? And then left? That didn't make much sense to me. But after hearing your ideas about hyenas, the cave hyenas and spotted hyenas, I think you might have nailed what I saw there, Kenny.
Wow. Well, first off, that's nightmare fuel just hearing that again. And as I'm listening and just picturing it all unfolding. And also, thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate that. I just try to
Absolutely.
really step inside and outside the box. And first, you got to start with reality before you can step outside of reality. And you got to start with, things that are
Yes.
logic and, things that did exist in science and pull it apart. And
Hmm.
yeah, hyenas did exist. They still do exist. And
Yep.
a lot of people don't understand how hardy animals are. And an example is the Burmese python is not supposed to be down in the Everglades, but right now it's pretty much destroying everything down there, including the alligators, just because
Yep.
of how easily it can adapt. So
Yes.
for someone to think that a hyena, whether it was taken as somebody's pet or it's come up in the past or it's in the
Hmm.
cave systems, if they think for 1 second that you can't take it from Africa where everything's out to get you and then put it in an area like California, Arizona, when it's not going to be okay. And then people are like, well, wait a second, those areas get cold. Well, Africa gets cold at night as well.
Oh yeah.
And now, yes, and now you're putting them in an area where they don't have necessarily a dominant predator to come after them. Sure, if they're
Right.
in an area with grizzly bears or something, that's
I'm
different. But
actually
also,
I'm so glad you said that too, because when I was doing my research into what I had encountered, I actually spoke to Ken Gearhart, okay?
oh
And
yes,
I was telling him how, it's kind of odd that there's, a hyena type thing here. And he's like, well, not really, Ryan, because Arizona and Africa would have similar climates. They have similar
1,000.
flora and fauna. So there, right there again, that supports your theory that there's some kind of hyenas out here. And I don't know if you know this historically, they did find the fossils of different types of hyenas in Nevada and in Arizona in the caves.
Bam, right there. So you just brought some more credence to that. And Ken Gearhart's a legend, so that's
Mhm.
amazing as well. And also our environmentalist, Colleen O'Hara, same thing. She was actually the one that was informing me about, how it could easily survive in these different areas. So
Yeah.
that's amazing to hear too. And before we touch that again, I'm so glad I have you here because I was speaking about this the other day on one of my podcasts, and I was
Mhm.
referring someone actually was Barb Hartman, who comes on
Okay.
all the time too. Yes, she was asking me basically like what my thought was potentially on when you hear some popping because it's not really in the majority of cases. And I have a hypothesis that I would like to turn into a theory, and you're the perfect person to either stop it in its tracks or give it some more motivation. And okay, so a known animal, whether it's a bear, hyena, wolves, baboons, they're okay getting up on their hind legs as long as it's in the range of motion. You're not going to hear any popping, okay? But
Right.
if now it's something like a skinwalker, okay, or someone that's taken on the shape of that, he or she is in the form of the animal, okay, right? Because like you
Hmm.
said, it would have taken the pelt, and yeah, hyenas are badass, but you could definitely dispose of a hyena. It's a living animal. So now, if it had the pelt of that, when it say forces itself past its range of motion, it's not going to hurt the skinwalker because he or she is magical and it's not their body fully, but it's going to push those joints now past its full range of motion to make it
Yes.
go fully upright. And I think maybe in some of the cases where the people have heard those popping, that it's not direct correlations to say a cave hyena or maybe fully in regards of that being physical, but it might be something that's taken on the form of that, which is why you heard the popping and others have. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it could be a couple of things. I think your idea could be correct, but it could also be like the hips shifting position. So when they go from the quadruped to the bipedal stance, it's their hips, adjusting to support the upper weight. Or it could be their feet. Maybe their feet aren't used to the weight shift suddenly. So when that weight shift does occur, the bones in your feet go snap, crackle, pop.
Pop. Makes sense. I mean, people would also think that by cracking your knuckles all the time that it causes arthritis. I mean, it's
Hmm.
in
Well,
actuality, it's air
it
being
could
released
be
from your body. So,
it could be that like their hips, maybe they have like different joints in their hips. So when they're down on the quadruped position, it's in one
ah,
area, but when they stand up, maybe the bone kind of doesn't disconnect, but it displaces, so it goes into a
rubs a
different
little bit.
area.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like almost like double jointed people or etc. No, that's interesting, and that makes a
Well,
ton of
think
sense
about
as well.
us. Think about humans. If we sit too long, Kenny, and we go to stand up, you all of a sudden hear a crack.
Dude, my body, bro. Long story short, Scott, I had to work with so many sports doctors and chiropractors, and I can get all my own adjustments now from foam rolling and just doing proper exercise. But
Hmm.
yeah, dude, people don't realize that whether your body's in place or out of place, when it goes out of place, it makes a pop. And then when they
Oh
put you
yeah.
back in place, it makes a pop. So, yes,
Yep.
it's very valid as well. And again, that's science that you and I just spoke about. So when people
Indeed.
tried to say, hey, there is no science within the Dogman, or there's no sort of science supporting a upright bipedal canine. They're missing the whole point, because anatomy is science, and also everything we just spoke of is part of science. So
Exactly. And
this
if we're
conversation doesn't exist without science.
right, and if we're ever going to have any answers to these mysteries, what are we going to use to solve it? Science. We're not going to be able to use like the Bible or whatever. We're going to
Yes,
have to use
until they
science.
accept that, if they ever do, 100%, my friend. And
Mhm.
people get upset with that, and it's okay. But again, I try to encourage everybody, and including you, to ask the tough, quote unquote, skeptical questions and be a healthy skeptic. There's nothing wrong with a good quality skeptical question in regards of trying to
Right.
figure out what's occurring. There's definitely trolly ways to be skeptical, but I'm talking about just approaching something where I don't go into anything just automatically believing something. There, for example, shouldn't be people that are just, say, a big name, or just if they're, I don't know, current or former political people, law enforcement, whatever. Like, they shouldn't be able to just control the narrative of their encounters either. They should have
Right.
to answer healthy, skeptical questions, no different than the person down the street that might be, working a subway or something. It doesn't make that person down the street any less credible, and they have to answer the healthy, skeptical questions. So
Yeah.
anyone else as well should have to.
Well, with skepticism, I mean, people need to realize, Kenny, skepticism is actually needed in this field. Because if we didn't have skepticism, we would believe anybody and everybody. Okay, people like Peter Kane would be, viable evidence. And no,
Yeah, no, exactly,
you got to
etc.
have that
Yes.
skepticism so that you go, okay, well, let's pump the brakes here. Let's slow it down. Let's look at the details. Let's look at the analytics here. Let's, tell me your story. And we need that kind of stuff because we can't just believe everything's factual. All right, and if we don't have those skeptics out here, we're always going to be misled. We're never going to find the right path. We're never going to get on the road to answers. We're always going to be confused and just look stupid. So,
No, again, preach, my friend. And I think that's a huge thing where people just think that what's been presented to them is actually history. And I always try to encourage people, because certain people that can't think outside of the box will always be like, wow, your funny little stories. And it's like, no, it's not stories, it's historical aspects. The history that
yes,
you read was a history book presented to you from your school. But if you want to really learn history, that's just a one-sided narrative. You need to also read indigenous culture, you need to read other
absolutely.
countries' history, and then you get the broad picture. It's not just a one-sided narrative. And I've always tried to just approach things like that, and that's why I really value you as a researcher too. And I think sometimes people take things at face value too much. And actually, I'm
They
going to
do.
give you an example right now, because it doesn't bother me, but I just found it humorous. Someone and other people thought that because of the entertainment aspect of growing up, I loved this show called Helsing, my brothers and I, and Alucard was a vampire that was controlled by the Helsing organization to go out and
Hmm.
hunt monsters. Super cool. Yes, I'm a nerd like that. Okay. So, because of the aspect of being creative, I'm an actor. Creativity is what excels me. I'm a videographer, graphics designer. So, yes, I play a quote unquote gimmick of Star Fox. Yes, to people that don't know what a gimmick is, I encourage you to look it up, okay? Just because it's a gimmick to bring entertainment to the presentation of science and actual facts I'm presenting. No, I don't really think I'm a vampire. No, I don't sleep in a coffin. Okay. It's a role, it's entertainment, my friends. So, yes, I just felt the need to clear that because I have had some people that I have not taken the time to respond to about that. So, there is your response. And now, previous and back to what we were doing here, Ryan, what do you think really about a reason why, say, the short-faced bears or cave hyenas or dire wolves or the Dinopithecus? Science, if you look at the write-up on all of those, it's pretty much almost identical. Okay,
Yeah.
their species began to decline around 20 to 30,000 years ago, and they
Right.
went extinct around 10,000, 11,000, 12,000. Okay,
Hmm.
that to me seems like they're not fully sure, which is why there's that time frame. And 11,000, 12,000 years ago is nothing. Okay, so a short-faced cave bear is almost, actually, let me rephrase that. It's not almost, it is a better version of a grizzly bear that's faster,
Oh
stronger.
yeah.
So why would that have an issue? So if it was able to take down larger moose and caribou and things, why is it going to have an issue taking down a modern moose? It's not. So why would
No.
that have any reason to have gone extinct? Okay.
Right.
Yes, dire wolves again. What if they were preying on the prey that they were? Okay. Again, what's going to cause them now to not be able to prey on something that's a little bit smaller of that? And again, people don't realize, correct me if I'm wrong here, that dire wolves do not have a direct connection with modern day canines. They're like
Correct.
saber-toothed tigers.
Yep.
Saber-toothed tigers don't have connection with tigers or modern day cats as well. So if we were to get DNA from a dire wolf, which a lot of people think dire wolves are still alive from sightings. And
Hmm.
our environmentalist was just telling us that recently some cattle that had been preyed upon and the teeth that fit in perfectly matched up with dire wolf teeth. Okay, so if we got the DNA from a dire wolf, again, that's not going to come back as direct modern day canine DNA. So also, why would they have gone extinct? Okay. And then now, same thing, cave hyenas. Again, they're living in cave systems. They have shelter. What's going to make a cave hyena just need to go extinct when they can prey on the same thing? Again, with the Dinopithecus, it's still able to eat grass. It's still able to eat mammals and such. So, what would really cause, besides human encroachment on their prey, but I just named other prey that they still have abilities to get. And as far as I know, humans, we didn't hunt down those species. We tried to stay away from the short-faced cave bear.
You kind of touched on what I was thinking too. I like the view that nature, if humans don't get involved, nature can heal itself, okay? And unless there's a big catastrophe, like, the dinosaurs, okay? Clearly, there was a big catastrophe that wiped them out. But with something like the short faced bears or the cave hyenas, if they're left alone, if there's a small pocket of that species, who's to say they can't bounce back? I mean, there's Lazarus taxon, they're species that we thought were gone forever, and yet lo and behold, boom, they're back again.
Yes.
No humans to hunt these bears, no humans to hunt the hyenas. We all thought they were gone anyway. So who's to say that these species didn't, regrow in number, that they didn't somehow repopulate because we left them alone?
Why wouldn't they? 100%. And
Yeah.
again, correct me if I'm wrong. I was listening to some people speak the other day, and humans, we're kind of tribal based. We like to be in clusters. So even though
Yes.
our population is exploding, there's still a ton of forest out in the United
Oh yeah.
States that we're not connected with. In these cave systems and such, there are areas, like you said, where things could have easily replenish themselves and still been untouched. An example, they just found what they thought was a snake, but ended up being a lizard in the mountains of, I can't remember what country it was, but it was like 6 feet long. So
Yeah.
for anyone that says any larger new species aren't going to be found, that's incorrect. 6 feet is
Hmm.
pretty large. I mean, it's not enormous, but I mean, we're not talking about a bug here. We're talking about a 6 foot lizard that looks like a snake. So it's super interesting in regards of that, like you had said, because there is really no reason for those predatory based animals to have gone extinct. I can
Right.
understand things that were larger herbivores because, yes, those were prey items. We're going to hunt them down and we're going to eat them. But
Mm-hmm.
humans are no different than any other predator. Okay. At the end of the day, we don't want to challenge a pack of cave hyenas. Yeah, if
No.
we need to defend ourselves, sure. But we don't want to go into a cave to hunt down a cave bear if we can go take on caribou and
Right.
catch them much easier. So, yeah, if that cave bear is coming to our village every night and taking away people, sure,
Mhm.
we're going to go to its cave and deal with it. And it could have been done. But that's not something that would have really helped us survive. Okay. Like we have brains, which is what helped us figure out, well, hey, that's not a good idea. And if we want to survive of our little tribe, we should probably stay away from them. Okay. So it's
Yeah,
no
because
different than now.
the risk wasn't equal to the gain. I mean, people walking into a cave to hunt a cave bear or a cave hyena, there's risk. There's risk of the humans getting hurt badly. It wasn't worth it to them, so they're not going to hunt them down like that.
Why would they? It's no different than the grizzly bear versus the wolves. There's times when
Mhm.
they interact with each other, but for the most part, they're both gonna try to, yeah, they might yap at each other and but they're not really trying to do the full battle. Same thing with like lions and hyenas. Every once in a while you get a crazy fatal encounter, but for the most part, they're just being to each other, I
Yeah,
guess.
pretty
Like
much. They just don't like each other.
yes, but they're also not, the hyenas don't purposely go try to hunt lions unless they catch one by itself. They would rather go
Right.
hunt the gazelle and other animals. And same thing with the lions, unless they catch a hyena that's unfortunately by itself. Boom. Because a lot of people don't realize hyena packs are massive. And
Oh,
some of the
yes, they are.
largest, I believe some of the largest packs ever found were 130 plus. Okay.
Hmm.
So that's intriguing. And then a lot of other people don't realize that chimpanzees, baboons, and other intelligent beings and animals in other countries steal people's livestock. They steal
Yes.
people's children, also get into your houses and terrorize things. And that's interesting as well because with people saying, the Dogman or Sasquatch or things taking people, that's also a behavior that known animals do as well. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I would definitely agree with you on that one. I mean, if they are any kind of animal, and I do believe they are, okay, both Dogman and Sasquatch, then why wouldn't they do like the others do? We got monkeys that will come after people, or monkeys that will form hunting troops and they'll steal babies from villages. So
Yes.
why wouldn't Bigfoot do that? I mean, it only fits logic that, a Bigfoot being as big as it is, it's going to see how easy a human is for prey, especially if that human's unarmed, okay? I mean, I don't know about you, but if I were a Bigfoot and I'm roaming around the wilderness and I see grizzly bears, I'm gonna be like, they're pretty big. They got claws. And I saw
Yes.
this little
But
human walking around with no weapons. I'm gonna be like, oh, well, there we go. There's dinner to go. And I'm gonna go after that human.
it's amazing you just said that as well because our environmentalists as well as our tracker and some other individuals were saying the same thing that again grizzly bears and a sasquatch don't necessarily want to coordinate with each other. It's just not worth it. There's going to be some sort of injury that's probably going
Oh
to
yeah.
affect both of them.
In the wild, when you're out in nature like that and you get even the smallest injury, that can turn
Yeah.
fatal so quickly, man. I mean, look at us humans. If we get like a stick in our foot or if we step on a rock that cuts our skin, we could get blood poisoning and everything. So imagine these things out there that don't have medicine. If they
Yes.
get wounded by a bear, it could go septic. They could get blood poisoning, they could get rabies, they could bleed out and just bleed to.
Speaking of the whole rabies thing, I found out an interesting fact a while ago that do you know hyenas are immune to rabies and anthrax because it's been used on them so
Oh,
much in the foods they eat and they're in such large packs that the bacteria was always active and they just accumulated to it because
I
their
didn't know that.
gut, yeah, their gut is so it's got so much of an acidic level that pretty much nothing affects it. And it's, yeah,
Wow.
this is messed up for the people in New York, but it's like with rats. Rats are pretty much immune to arsenic and rat
Yeah.
poisonings down there now because once you breed in your offspring, you now
Hmm.
have some sort of ability to fight off of those things. So
Yep.
it's super terrible right there. And again, before we kind of start tying this up, is I think people miss the idea and consensus of yes, because we're humans. For some reason, humans think we're better than every other animal, but we're still
We
an
do.
animal,
Yeah.
and no animal looks upon us as better than them. Okay, and if given the chance, just because we think we're human and we don't deserve to get eaten. That's not the way a predator looks upon it. Okay, when you step in, not you, but when anyone steps in the water to go swimming, a saltwater crocodile, a shark, they don't look at you as, okay, he or she gets immunity here. They're a person. They're super smart. They think they're so smart and they built these big cities. No, we're not going to eat them. It doesn't work like that. They look at you as an option now, like you said, much easier. So grizzly
Yeah.
bears, okay, a grizzly bear might have never tracked down a person ever. They might be hungry, okay, and they're out looking for caribou. And you and I, being the smart bozos we are, could walk out into the middle of this plain, okay, and we have nothing to protect ourselves. People think that that grizzly bear is just going to ignore you. The odds are it's probably not, because you are an easy prey source, and
Right.
now I don't have to go chase this moose. I
Especially
got
after they taste human blood, though, because it's like a dog. I mean, with domesticated dogs, if they get a taste for human blood, there's a problem. Okay. So
mm-hmm.
that's why when a dog attacks somebody, they usually put that dog down because it got a taste for human blood and it probably ended up liking it. So with Bigfoot or Dogman or any other cryptid out there, why wouldn't they develop that taste as well? I mean, logic.
And people, again, this might in modern society is considered taboo, but in actuality it's part of evolutionary aspects, and
Yes.
also our tribes in the past, Neanderthals and such, and also other groups of people used to unfortunately prey on people that were considered more
Hmm.
civil. And the reason they know that is they found, and I'm not speaking about every ancient tribe, not every Neanderthal tribe did this, but certain tribes, they found groups of bones that were
Hmm.
cracked open and the marrow was sucked out, and they could tell that these were animals. And they also found human bones in there as well that had been treated the same exact way as the animal bones, meaning that they didn't look at those individuals as equivalent to them. It was just a food source. Okay. And people don't seem to understand, just because we are living in the cities and such, that's not really how nature works. Correct me if I'm wrong. Almost every spider species is cannibalistic. Most sharks are Komodo
Yes.
dragons.
Crocodiles
Tigers,
and alligators.
unfortunately, I've watched male lions, literally a fresh load of little baby cubs, just eat them. I've
Hmm.
watched a baboon do that to a female baboon. And I mean, these are all animals that are considered intellectual and they're smart. Okay.
Yep.
So, again, I'm just trying to say that nature doesn't look at people as being better than it and immune to things. And I think because we think that, we make very unintelligent decisions. And we also think that things are so easy, and we start to ask these irrational questions about why there's not more proof about this or why they didn't get closer to this. I mean, if it's a crocodile in the water, okay, you know it's there, right? But am I going to get closer just to get this person that's saying, "Oh, get closer some more"?
Nope.
And no, oh, exactly. So if you and I are out there and we really think potentially there might be a dog man there or something extraterrestrial based, why would we again go out of our way to put ourselves in a stupid situation? Why do people think
Exactly.
that's something that needs to occur?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, really, I think they would have to answer that because we don't think like that. You and I don't think like that. I think with some people though, they're so used to the Disney nature though that they don't want to believe that animals can and will hurt people, that animals can and will hurt other animals, that they'll eat babies and whatnot. And I think
Yes.
that's sad. I think that's tragic because that's not the true nature. You got to actually look at real nature, not Disney, not the Disney princess and its little elf friends. You got to look at the real nature, man. Nature can be caring, but nature can be brutal as all hell. It really can.
Preach, my friend. And it's super important to definitely, obviously protect, like, say our youth and such, but you also need to, like I said, expose people to reality, so someone
Yes,
doesn't think you can just go out and pet a bear because Winnie the Pooh is chilling, eating honey and laughing and such.
exactly.
Because that's like not a reality, and it's something that is unfortunate
Mm.
because it puts us in a dangerous situation of just thinking everything is okay. And
Right.
you really can't approach things like that. And it is good that people put logic to things and not do something that would be considered irrational. Like a few months ago, I had these two gentlemen tell me, and they weren't sure. They thought maybe it was something unknown, but they're pretty optimistic they wounded it when they shot at it.
Mm.
Then they realized that they've tracked this thing a half mile into the woods at night. It's jet black
Oh,
out. And they both realized, wait a second, what are we doing? Yeah, why would you track down any sort of predator at night while it's wounded. You know what I mean? That's not like a very logical decision to make. So
If he wasn't mad before, he was after he wounded him. That's for sure.
yes,
And
100%.
nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal. Nothing more dangerous than that because they get angry, and if you trap them, oh boy, you're in
Yes.
for it.
Oh, and before I forget too, an example like you were saying about nature. Okay, elephants, right? Elephants
Hmm.
highly intelligent. People would like to say they're friendly because in the zoo they eat peanuts and all this, and they can bang on drums when people are playing there. Okay, cool. Yeah, sure. They seem cool. Well, there was a giraffe just sitting there trying to drink water. Yes, a very healthy giraffe. And
Hmm.
this bull elephant came over so maliciously. You could just see it, what it was gonna do, and sure enough, it comes running over and charges his tusks right into the side of this giraffe that was just sitting there trying to drink water. The giraffe
Oh,
kicks and tries to run off, and you can see its intestine hanging out. That giraffe's gonna now. And
yep,
point, what was the purpose of that? Why did that elephant do that? And everyone thinks, hey, elephants are so nice, but that's another example right there. That's just how nature is. There doesn't have to be a reason. I mean,
exactly.
people try to put a reason on it, but hey, the elephant just didn't give a shit, you know?
So before we wrap up, though, Kenny, I wonder, have you looked into the Shunkawarakan at all?
I have not. I've actually never even heard that terminology. What
Oh,
is
okay.
that?
You definitely need to look it up. It's something that's supposed to exist in Nahanni Valley up in Canada,
Okay.
but look it up because they kind of describe it as like a hyena or a wolf-like creature that has been known to like take the heads off of people that it catches. So,
Man, see, I knew it was okay. I would
so
like you to
Canadian
send me
wilderness.
that after, man.
Okay, so the Canadian wilderness, you got plenty of room for something to flourish up there, an entire species, a lot of prey. They got deer, they got rabbits, they got all that stuff, and it was preying on humans too. So could the Chunkawarakan be maybe a descendant of the cave hyenas or something? Something you might want to look into.
Yes, 100%. That's amazing. And then you have the ringdocus, which is a strange looking
Yes.
animal as well. And then you have the beast of Jevedon, where it was
Mhm.
reported as being a striped hyena by the
And
people that were.
the Wahida
Yep.
is another one.
It smelled so bad that they had to bury the beast of Jevedon. But the guy that actually shot it, when he was showed by the other people the drawings of a striped hyena, he's like, no, 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 it was a spotted hyena. So again, like, well, okay, could have been of royalty, sure. Could have been someone's pet they let go, or again, it
Mhm.
could be up here and we're just not aware of it. So
Yeah.
no, that's amazing. I would like to write that down next time you pop on. Let's talk about the Nahanni
Okay.
Valley is very interesting to me as well, and I
Oh
definitely
yeah.
have some input on that too, my friend. So
Sweet. Sweet, sweet. Yeah, let's definitely discuss that next time around.
let's definitely do that. Like I said, let me know when you get some time, my friend, and you're always
Mhm.
welcome back. I would like to get you on as stated, definitely at least twice a month, once a month at
Well, of
minimum. So
course, bro. Anytime. Anytime you want me on, you just let me know.
thank you for everyone who once again stopped by for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. If you did enjoy this episode, please like, subscribe, comment, and share it. Yes, make sure to feed the algorithm. And until next time, make sure to lock your windows and doors.